Have you ever wondered how a 111-year-old company focusing on a product for blue-collar workers and doing so reliably suddenly shifts to focus on teenage girls and their moms? Would you like to know what happened? We're here on the Biz Doc Deep Dive, and we're going to unravel the entire story for you.
There's like a subculture on TikTok that's just so obsessed with the Stanley Cup. And I was like, I need this. This looks like it'll change my life. And it completely did. I've gotten actually
Open. I want my own planet. I deserve it. I'm just as important as you.
I love it so much already.
The company is Stanley, the familiar company you've seen, those big giant quenchers people are walking around with. I'm Tom Ellsworth, the Biz Doc, and today I'm with Amy Dangerfield as we go on the Biz Doc Deep Dive.
Tom, it's great to be here. I'm so excited to get into this deep dive case study. I mean, I've been seeing these things everywhere, all over social media, in all of my social groups, and it's only when I started to dig a little bit deeper that I realized there is a lot more to the story here.
So for 111 years, Stanley was content with its niche. It was making blue-collar workers the Stanley tumbler. And everything changed when they decided to introduce the quencher, targeting a brand new demographic, and that would be women. At first, this move seemed inconsequential, just another addition to their product line. But little did they know, this strategic shift is going to ignite a wildfire of success beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Before you know it, there's 50 colors out there. People are bidding on eBay, competition for them, and part of it was just off the hook.
It is more than just a stylish and really dramatic way of consuming way too many fluids. Honestly, it's really evolved into a status symbol, especially among Generation Z. With children on TikTok shedding actual tears over them, and meanwhile, adults in the aisles of Target, mostly women, I may add, have been seen embroiled in full-on brawls over the very last limited edition.
What's a brawl? Is that like a fight in Australia?
One of those, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the story of Stanley, a company that went from doing just fine to doing far more than fine, becoming an industry powerhouse in drinkware.
So this unexpected phenomenon not only underscores the power of effective branding and marketing, but for me, it also really highlights the ever-evolving landscape of consumer behavior, especially in the digital age. What began as a daring new experiment to simply target a new demographic has blossomed into something of a cultural phenomenon.
Big dumb cups.
Transcending, mere utility to become fully ingrained as an integral part of pop culture.
In 2019, Stanley's revenue was $70 million. $70 million is a good little company. Good little company. But only a couple years later, and we're going to tell you how, suddenly they're at $750 million, $750 million, $750 million in revenue. Now that is a serious sized company. Now, how did it happen? Well, one person can make the difference. Steve Jobs comes back to Apple and things are tremendously changed. Then you have someone like Bill Belichick joins the New England Patriots, changes the culture, and all of a sudden you see championships. It changes. Well, the person that changed Stanley was this guy. This is Terrence Riley. He's a visionary guy. He came from Crocs. He was running marketing for Crocs. So here in early 2020, Stanley recruits Riley, and this guy is very strategic, very innovative, and he's got a tremendous mindset for segmenting markets. So here he is at the forefront of recognizing the untapped potential of TikTok marketing and a vision for making a product for the female market, mainly high school, college girls, and their moms. That was where the real zone was for the Stanley Quencher. So what does he do? Well, great marketers usually have great partners, and he went and worked with these guys. An Austin-based TikTok agency, GSD&M, and they were dedicated to amplifying Stanley's presence on TikTok. He felt if you're going to reach this group of consumers, these women, high school, college, and their moms, you got to do it through TikTok, things they like, and Glossier, and all those things that are on TikTok. He said, that's where the audience has to be, that's where we have to be, but we have to do it right. Well, within the span of a year, the marketing strategies had doubled the company's revenue, and they were $194 million, up from 70. And now the story is unfolding because they have success, they have validation, they have product market fit, and they got a big stack of sales as compared to the year before. But you can see it, here we are at $750 million, $750 million, and the announcement in fourth quarter, they had passed 10 million unit sales. So there are 10 million quenchers sold. If you had only sold that in America, 1 in 30 people would have one of these. It's they have to have one, but they don't know why. As a matter of fact, that's what the Biz Doc babe, hi sweetie, said to me today. People have them and they don't know why. But you know what? It's just because everybody else does. And that's what a fad craze is all about. Let's get back to the desk and talk about the rest.
As these products found their way into the hands of consumers, a remarkable secondary market has emerged. Limited editions with unique colors and different patterns and graphics are highly coveted online that are being sold for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. For example, Stanley actually did a collaboration with Starbucks during Valentine's Day. They called it their Galentine's Cup. Now, typically Stanley 40-ounce quenchers go for $45. This one was a little bit higher in price at $49.95. However, these cups are now reselling for upwards of $300.
Uh-oh.
Some of them are going for up to $700. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, at least for this type of a product.
You know, in a world of collectibles, where collectibles are so cherished by people, if you have a rare color and a small quantity, you create a shortage. And so people will buy 2 and 3 of them. They're putting them on eBay, selling them at a very high price, and there are more than one person that's willing to pay that price. Like a baseball card that's in plastic that has never been touched by human hands.
A little bit of scuffing on there, but not gonna worry about it.
It's incredible. My question for you, Biz Doc, is what type of a person builds up such a collection of collectibles? I wonder.
I think I know where you're going. I'm not sure I want to go there.
Could it be this that
Oh.
I'm referring to?
Well, these are not Stanleys. These are Yetis, and that's a few colors. Yeah, that's a few colors.
You have a very impressive collection here, Biz Doc.
Well, just the Yeti colors, I would buy them when the new color came out, and I was supporting Yeti because there's a lot of counterfeits. The Yetis even had lawsuits with certain retailers, some big ones that just went to China or some other far-off place, usually China, and would have knockoffs made that they would sell. And people like Dick's Sporting Goods are completely loyal to Yeti, selling Yeti in all of its colors and all of its type, the authentic product to the authentic consumer. I've always been big on authenticity and supporting the companies that I think are doing it right, and so I support Yeti. And after 5 years, suddenly you have quite the collection.
So by now, it's pretty apparent to all of us the pivotal role that both Terrence Riley and TikTok played in establishing the Stanley Cup brand. Recently, there was a video that amassed 95 million views on TikTok depicting the Stanley Cup actually surviving a car fire. And the thing that really surprised the viewers the most was the fact that the Stanley tumbler still contained ice. Terrence promptly responded to the video, and he even offered to buy her a brand new car.
But we'd love to replace your vehicle.
Did he give her a brand new Stanley mug? Just a new car? Should he get a new Stanley mug?
He got her a Stanley mug too. Some speculated that this was actually nothing more than a well-orchestrated publicity stunt to garner more attention and viewership for the Stanley products.
Not only do I doubt it, but the internet has doubters. Doubters have friends. Friends and doubters get together.
Oh my god, it survived a car fire, look! Like, I do think that's what caused all the hype.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Here are clips of people that were trying to set the Stanley Cup on fire, put it in a fire, or get it close to something damn hot so that they could see if they can melt it. And look at this. In some of these cases, that poor tumbler is melted down to nothing. So if that's true, how the hell did it stand up to a 1,500-degree fire in a car and still have ice in the bottom of it at the end of it? So there's all the skepticism on the car fire, but you go back to companies like Yeti that had shown pictures of bears actually trying to break open and chewing on the latches and being unable to get into the Yeti coolers that people would have at their camp with food and stuff inside. And these are real bears really trying to tear up a Yeti cooler, and you can see the thing stays locked. Interestingly enough, there's an example of something that has some authenticity to it where you say, okay, that really happened. So the Yeti cooler is pretty tough. I can take it camping, and if a bear tries to break in, he can't get in. He could probably just carry the cooler home back to his bear cave or whatever, but it was real. Whereas the car fire, people are asking, I don't know about this.
This is what really caused me to doubt the authenticity of the video. So 3 months prior to this viral sensation, there was a video that was posted to TikTok depicting exactly the same scenario, a Stanley Cup that had undergone a car fire. Except this one actually looked like it had been through a car fire.
Uh-oh.
This earlier video only garnered 2 million views compared to the 95 million that were amassed by the viral sensation. And interestingly enough, Biz Doc, Stanley didn't respond to this one. I guess it wasn't viral enough for them. Now, in my opinion, this original video seems so much more believable because the cup looks like it's actually been through a car fire. So check that out. Look at the difference between those. The distinct contrast between these two cups becomes very apparent. Yes, in the very first video, obviously the cup still had ice when she grabbed it by the handle. But as you can see in this one, guys, the handle is completely burned off. Do you think that the viral video, the woman who filmed it, was actually inspired by this formative video that didn't go viral, but possibly inspired her to actually create her video in the first place?
I don't know the answer to that, but I would say it certainly seems suspicious. At the end of the day, I don't know that it matters. Integrity matters, truth in marketing matters, being ethical in marketing matters, it all matters. But whether the cup had ice or didn't have ice at the end of the fire, it's not like you're making, a rabid claim. What you did is they really leaned into it. They bought the lady a car. They did all of that. And so you could argue that there's a little sketchy marketing, but what you can't argue with, that happened in November of 23. So Q4 of 23, these cups are already a sensation. This was just propelling things much higher as last year, 2023, came to a close and people are buying them for Christmas. My wife's a school teacher and she said every one of the teachers has one of these. Now, of course, my wife has got the Yeti cups because I have every color. Why would she want a Stanley cup? I got her every color. And she'll say, you didn't get them from me. Those are yours. Okay, fine, whatever. But the point is here, it was already off and running. So I think there's a lesson for you and me in being careful with the marketing, because you can have things backfire if your product doesn't perform the way it is. But in this case, people have even said, did Stanley maybe see the original car fire and stage the second one and do it themselves? If that comes out, that's bad. That's not good. But you know what? At the end of the day, it was already a viral sensation, but it's pretty curious. And you got to be careful with these things. The jury's out. This thing could snap shut on them at any time. If somebody leaves the company and says, I'm going to be a whistleblower, man, we made up that whole marketing thing. That would be bad. Let's give him credit. He helped push this company from 70 million to 750 million in top line revenue in just 3 years. I think it's a grand total of 3 years. Well, guess what? I guess he's had enough. He's had the big drink and he's going back to Crocs. They have recruited him to come back as president, so I guess they want the mojo that he did here to come back to Crocs, where he had been at his career before coming over to Stanley Cup. Isn't that interesting?
So we actually asked you guys, the community, if you've ever heard of Stanley Cup, and some of the comments were pretty amusing, right, Tom?
Well, you've got trollers, you've got scrollers, and you've got people that just trying to be funny, and then you got people that were just kind of pointing out the obvious. It's the perfect gift for the girl you've been going out with for a whole 2 weeks. I work at a YMCA in Idaho, and every single mom has one. In a year, the shelves at Goodwill will be full of these. It's a fad. Get ready, brace for impact. My wife asked me to get her one, and she didn't even know why. When I brought it home, she says, I'm gonna drink all of that? These are all the questions that are out there with the Stanley Cup craze, which is really not just taking America by storm, it's taken
everywhere. I mean, my sister knows about them. People in Australia are also obsessed with the Stanley Cup as well. 5 years ago, we would have been talking about Facebook, maybe YouTube. However, today's generation, they live on TikTok. So I think another great lesson here is just how smart Stanley Cup was, how smart Terrence Riley was to initiate a campaign on the platform where this secondary market of consumers spends all their time.
TikTok is also where you need to be in the short attention span theater, which is where high school and college girls also spend a considerable amount of time, and apparently also their moms. Of course, all that is off the table if TikTok is banned in the US, whether it's Chinese data, not Chinese data, people manipulating in court, doesn't seem to matter. But go check it out below, because Biz Doc covered that for you so you can make up your own mind, do your research, and watch it and decide for yourself. And stay tuned. Amy and I are going to do a deep dive breakdown on Crocs, because it was also a brand that achieved cult-like status. Some said those are damn ugly. Other people said, I've got them in 10 colors and I love them. And we're going to dive Crocs from the origin to the great takeoff of their marketing. So look for that case study on a Biz Doc deep dive coming up soon. Until next time, this is Amy Dangerfield. I am Tom Ellsworth of Biz Doc, and as I like to say, I hope I left you better than I found you.